Hey guys, Kevin Downey here from Kevin M. Downey and Strategic Advisor at Aptive Index. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it. So the topic of this video, an interesting one. If resumes of our job applicants, our candidates, are all to some level exaggerated or in some cases just outright fabricated, how do we know whom to interview? And this is, I think, a challenge for companies. And part of the reason why we're seeing the growth of Aptive Index and a couple of other similar platforms, that the science has been around for a long time. It's called drive-based hiring, by the way. And that is the solution for hiring, regardless of that initial problem. But it is a reason why we're seeing growth in this segment and an increase in use case, right, or in use. So drive-based hiring, if you're not familiar, it's a 100-year-old science. Been used in business for decades. The Aptive Index's oldest competitor has been around since the 80s. Why are more companies turning to it, right? Well, the aforementioned question, but turnover is getting more painful, more expensive. The number of toxic hires is increasing. Our turnover rate in the United States is 42 to 47%, depending on the data you believe. And it's getting worse. You could attribute some of that to just chasing next highest salary, which I talked about in another video on how to prevent that with your staff. But we need to reduce turnover and get a higher percentage of top performers in the company. We need to get back to where people come into a company and they plan on staying psychologically, and companies expect them to stay. And one of the ways that we can do that is by hiring the right way, by matching people's attributes, the way they're wired, the way they're built, cognitively to the jobs. Again, it's been proven. We've got validation studies, all that stuff Aptive Index does, but the industry has all kinds of data that says skills and experience and resume are two of the worst ways to predict future performance and hire, right? It just doesn't work. And the turnover rates in the United States show that. So if we know that resumes are even getting less accurate now, and our ATSs are only going off of keywords and resumes, which is the only, the way that everybody is screening, especially for remote positions, because we're getting too many applicants, right, with one-click apply, right? Then if the resumes aren't even truthful, then how do we know who or whom, I guess is the right word, to interview, to look at, right? Well, again, we look at the attributes, match them to the jobs, and now we've got a way to predict future performance and find people who are built for the jobs. Then we can look at background or resume if we want to, and of course interview and all that stuff, because really important. But the first step is to match the people, their attributes to the jobs, right? Because this, we know statistically, is a far better predictor of future performance, longevity, finding top performers, all that stuff. Okay, so what does it do? And I'm gonna show you an example really quick here, but it measures attributes established in our teams that don't change. These attributes are, we call them cognitive, by the way, are fundamental needs and motivations that drive decisions and actions. It's how we're wired, it's how we're built, okay? Top performers in companies do jobs that match their attributes, and you can see it and feel it. Tasks feel more natural, engaging, sustainable. The day flies by when they're working. They're like going downhill all the time, and it's like writing with your dominant hand. The reverse is when the job doesn't, when the attributes in the job don't match up, the person doesn't match up to the job, they're doing things that fight their natural drives all the time. It creates stress, burnout, and underperformance, if not non-performance, which I'm gonna show you with a sales example, and everything is an uphill battle. It's like writing with your non-dominant hand. Okay, so we want to match the people to the jobs, how they're wired to the jobs, okay? And we know that it's effective. We know that it works statistically. We have all the validation studies to prove it. But I'm gonna give you a concrete example really quick, just if you're not familiar. And I'm gonna give you a link to take it. There's one in the description. But if you have an email from me or something like that, you probably have a link. Take it. It takes 8 to 10 minutes. It'll blow you away. You'll get a PDF. The accuracy is just gonna blow you away. But if you don't have that, go to our website, kevinmdowney.com, and click on Take Aptive Index, and you can take it. Okay, there's a link to take it. But here's the 4 main drives to create primary profile. This is me, by the way. So moderately high influence, low sociability, mid consistency, high, very high precision. Okay, and then standalone attributes, which don't affect our primary profile, fairly high emotional resonance, very, very low pro-social, very high intensity, and mid-range abstraction. Okay, so forgetting me and fit for the time being in a job, right? Because I have my own agency in this case. But let's take a look at some positions we have built. And since we do a lot of sales, this is kind of my forte as an example, but it applies to every position in any company, okay? But let's look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of hires we might make in sales, okay? And the profiles we're looking to hire, why, and I'm giving you concrete evidence, especially if you have any B2B business experience, and especially if you know the sales department at all. You're an owner, sales leader, HR, whatever. Why are salespeople failing at like epidemic proportions at this point, especially in B2B? Okay, because this is our prototype hunter sales rep, right? So this is not an account manager. This is somebody whose job is to go out and get customers. This is the key. This is the key sticky point here. Go out and get customers. They get paper. They sign the customer, and they don't have an ongoing relationship with them, right? So we want high influence, high intensity. But here's the problem: is so many companies are trying to hire this person to go out and do business development. And 30, 40, 50 years ago, we could justify that because we could go out, we could take a sales rep, and they could be selling a lot because they could go out and make 25 calls and talk to 10 or 15 decision makers, right? So they're selling a lot. That is not the case today. We're now having to make 50 to 100 contacts to talk to 5 to 10 people. That is a totally different job than what it used to be on the prospecting side. And this has obviously been an evolution, right? So what are we doing, right? So we're taking this hunter sales rep and we're hiring them based on skills and experience and resume, right? And resume, again, whether it's honest or not, quotas honest or not, all the sales numbers, whatever, I don't care what they've sold. At the end of the day, they're not built to do BDR work, to do business development today. How do I know that? Because I know from experience that this is the profile I need for a BDR. I don't care about influence that much. Sociability a little higher than average would be nice. I need high C. I need somebody who is going to do the same thing all day, every day, over and over and over again, face rejection and not be affected by it. I need this, okay? How do I know that? Because I hired, other than the fact that I've seen this at work for 10 years in some of Aptive Index's competitors, I hired our BDR, SDR, purely off of assessment, not resume, because I don't care what he did. Because I know at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I asked him if he was interested in doing that kind of job, right? He had the right wiring pattern for the job. And I put him in the job, and 6 months later, he's still knocking it out of the park. In fact, he's gotten better, keeps getting better, okay? He had no experience. If you went off his resume, skills, and experience, you wouldn't even consider him. Not even consider him. But he's done great, right? Because he's built for the job. And this is where we see the failing point in companies when we're trying to hire off a resume. And especially, again, now that resumes, gosh, know how truthful they are. I don't really get into that stuff because I don't really consider resume all that important. At the end of the day, I mean, obviously in certain kinds of positions, we're going to be looking at background and experience and stuff like that. And we still are using this because they got to be built for the job regardless. See that with management jobs all the time, right? There's all kinds of jobs where you don't have to look at resume. It doesn't even matter. I don't care what kind of experience somebody has. I can train them how to do the job. I want to know if they fit the job. Are they built for it? If they're built for it, they're going to find success because they're going to be engaged, right? They're going to be this. This is so important. They're going to be doing the job that matches their attributes. Everything's going to feel natural, engaging, sustainable. It's like going downhill. It's just flowing all day, every day. Time flies by. When we hire against this, we get underperformance or outright non-performance. Again, how many times do we hear sales hiring stories, where they've hired a sales rep off resume, they had all of these beautiful numbers, could sell themselves in the interview like nobody's business, but they got a prospect for 6, 12, 18 months. We hire them, they give them salary for months on end, and nothing happens. This is it right here. This is a perfect example. Doesn't matter what the resume says. At the end of the day, if they're not going to prospect, right, in most B2B needs for hunter sales, and sometimes for farmers, which is a different story. Here's a farmer sales rep, also very different, or somewhat different, okay? This person's not going to pick up the phone 50 to 100 times a day. They're not going to do it. They're going to be great at presenting. They'll do webinars. They can go speaking engagements, all that stuff. If they've got enough drive to go do those things, sure, they can get in front of buyers and they can find customers. But them picking up the phone 50 to 100 times a day is not going to happen. It's not. Will they do it for 2 weeks, 4 weeks just to get the job and keep it? Sure. But are they going to do it for a year? No chance. And this is why we see nothing happens. We hire off resume, we hire skills and experience, and nothing happens. This is a perfect example of why you match job attributes to jobs and vice versa. You got to match the people to the need, right? You're going to hire a BDR. You got outbound all day, every day, and a ton of rejection. I need this. I don't need this, right? SDR, pretty similar to BDR, a little bit different because we got inbound leads, but they're qualifying leads and doing some other things to prep them for a sales meeting, for example. But again, all about hiring the right attributes, okay? All right, hopefully that helps you. If you haven't taken it, take it. Visit our website, kevinmdowney.com. There's a link that says Take Aptive Index. Check it out. It takes 8 to 10 minutes. You'll get your results by PDF. You can be blown away. And then if we talk about how we can use it in your organization, let me know. Okay, thanks for being here, guys. Best of luck in business, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.